Welcome back to the New Human series. We're the New Human Species. See, I can't even get it right. I'm telling you, the energy up here is a freaking fog.
It is.
No,
Good way to put
No,
it.
it is.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah.
No, really. Jim was like, you didn't even know my name. It's like, well, that wasn't you that I was seeing. And it's like, no, it's pretty intense up here. Okay, but I'm excited.
Was I better looking? Moving on.
Felt pretty good. That was loaded. Okay, so are we ready for questions and answers? There are quite a few that have been emailed in. This live audience is counting on the quality of your questions because they submitted almost nothing. 2 questions, 1 statement. That's it. That's it. So it's good that we have all these people emailing in questions. And I'm going to open this up with an overall statement about the questions that I have been reading through so far. And one of the things that I found interesting is that many of these questions are related to the fear and concern about how to understand or know if you are navigating this properly. How is it that you're to know that and that you're doing it right and you're doing it well? So we'll start with that
Interesting.
question.
Wow. Who do you want to go first?
Oh, I think Steve.
Okay, I'll go. Biggest part about it is if we're wondering if we're doing it right, if we're racing ahead to try and figure out the fastest way to go, you're doing it wrong. We don't need to be there. You're doing a 3rd dimensional reality in the 5th dimension. How about if you just take a breath and just be and experience what's around you and allow yourself to find, again, that center of that spiral is huge. And if we can find that still space, many people meditate. Many people have meditated for years. I do it in a slightly different way. But everybody has tried to find that now moment. If you've ever taken TM or any of that, the instructional work to do that, it's all about finding in the now moment, this very present moment. And that's where we're looking for. But we don't have to go through a lot of technology to do it. We don't even have, how about if we meditate in an elevator? How about if we meditate for a second while we're in the grocery store? Now it's time to start using it on a practical basis. And the question is really about how do we step into that? What's the next step that we can take?
I can piece that too. The question I'd ask is, which thought feels better? The one that says fearful, oh my God, the world's coming to an end? Or the one that simply says, in present time, again, right here, how am I doing? And then the question is, how do you choose? Do you wish to hold your attention on this that's fearful and habitual and a belief system that generally isn't even your belief system, or a thought that I can totally manage and choose? One of the other things that I watch in relation to that question is the reality is you are absolutely okay. You cannot be not okay.
Yeah, right.
But you wear a shirt that's too small and shoes that don't fit and the colors don't match because mom, dad, teacher, minister said this is good for you, and you believed them.
Yeah.
You had one of those. So in that space, we carry a lot of stuff, and in the space where I'm okay, I'm not my stuff.
Right.
If you get really present and simply recognize I can't be anything but okay, and I'm fine, and my rent's due, my relationship is, and et cetera, that's stuff. When you get to the place of I'm okay, I can deal with my stuff. But when I'm my stuff, I can't find where I'm okay. And that becomes to be a really simple way of addressing that piece.
Okay, good.
Adamus talks a lot about let's go beyond just our single focus of being a human. He talks about the that we're not just human, and we've got the human who is the experiential part of our journey. Human loves the experience, and good or bad, just loves experiencing. But if you're feeling fearful at all, take a deep breath, go beyond the human, feel into the master, which is the wisdom, the I am, which is the consciousness, they're not fearful at all. Because first of all, they don't worry about death. They don't have tomorrow anxiety like humans do. And they're looking forward to this, that part of you. So if you feel stuck in that fear, well, first of all, realize it's just a really cool experience. But then take a deep breath and go into the and feel where the master and the I am are. They are so looking forward to this. They're being invited into this reality, the human's reality. They're being invited in as part of this whole amazing transformation. And it's like Jim said, you got your choice. You want to stay in the human perception of fear or go into the master's perception of, wow, this is really amazing. Look what we're doing. And, you know, that being said, too, it's not up to the human to do the enlightenment. It's not. A human couldn't do it if it tried, absolutely screw it up. So human, just have fun with it. And Dhamma says all the time, hard to believe once in a while, but he says, this is the greatest lifetime and the greatest time of this lifetime, what we're going through. Don't waste it on worrying and holding back, and dive into it and discover really what you really are, who you are. Just have a blast with it.
I would like to add one thing about that. Fear can only exist in the future. If you stop and think about it, it can only exist in the future, which means that you're thinking in a linear time frame, a third dimensional time frame. How about if you step out of it and you say, am I okay right now? Am I good right at this very second? And that's the point to live from. That's the point to live from. And then from then we can project into it in a totally different way.
You know, we keep talking about present time. It really is the only answer. You can't create in the past or in the future. You only create right now. But getting into it as a practice, just, I'm fine right here. And just recognize it in the right now moment. Practice when it doesn't count. Don't wait until I got to deal with, am I okay? Just practice when it doesn't count. Just sit there right now and just recognize, I'm fine. I got stuff going on and I'm fine. And it begins to be, not a mantra, but it begins to be a pattern that allows you to choose differently.
And you said it before, Jim, we're going to be here observing this phenomena on the planet. You don't have to get involved in the drama and in the negative parts of it. You just step back and just observe it in your own mastery. I mean, and the world could be going crazy all around you, and it actually will go crazy all around you. It's not your world. I mean, it's really not. This is such a different lifetime than any other.
Look at the news. The world is going crazy right now.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
There were several references made to the two Earths. What is the situation with two Earths?
Adamus, we talked about it last year, and Adamus has talked about it quite a bit, in the fact that they're not coming together. There's a different set of consciousnesses. This new, what is he calling it, the Homo Christos, is going to be able to actually coexist, be in both. You're going to be able to be here and you're going to be able to be there at the same time. Some of this boggles my mind when Adamus wakes me up at 2 a.m. and starts going through this, and I'm like, whoa, I can't handle this. But it's absolutely amazing. Some of it seems like sci-fi, but yet as things progress, I'm starting to really realize, you know, we're coming to this this point of the integration of the light or the free energy body. And the things we're going to be able to do are going to be mind-blowing, and the human is going to doubt it because it says, well, that's not my linear path. It's like, shut up, human. Just experience it. You're not driving this car anymore. You're just experiencing it. And I think the ability to let go, stop having the human part of yourself try to do enlightenment or try to do any of this, it's not going to work. Once you take a deep breath and you open up into the and, into all of yourself, everything changes. And then the human stops worrying. It realizes, oh, wow, this is, I don't have to figure this all out myself. I've got the I am. I've got my divinity here. We're just going to have a ball with it.
Yeah, there's going to be a point where you are going to simply hold out your hand and the apple's going to appear.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then as soon as that happens, the rational mind's going to go into, oh, I can't do that again. I'm sure I can't do that again. And basically, you'll start to talk you right out of it.
Right.
But you'll do it again, and you'll do it again, and then you'll create a banana, and then you'll create a house, and then you'll create, and that whole aspect of simply having a thought and manifesting it in that Christos body is absolutely available to you right now.
And Jim, other people might not see that apple, and if you expect that
Doesn't
they
make any
do,
difference.
it doesn't make a difference.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Because they're going to be operating in a little bit different
Exactly,
reality base.
exactly. But
Yeah.
there is an opportunity to this, and this is where I play in this space, is that level of once you start to understand that for yourself, the ability to start to hold different frequencies of light, the ability to sit on a park bench anywhere in the world and just radiate that vibration, and people will simply begin to put down their guns because they will forget why they ever held their gun
yeah.
in their hand.
Yep.
That's the opportunity of that Christos body that we were all pointing to right here.
Right.
You're going to find that you'll simply hold out your hand and provide the apple to the little child that's hungry, and the little child's not going to ask you where did it come from.
That's right.
And then you'll walk away because you can without being engaged in, oh, geez, I created an apple, you know. There's no ego.
There's some outrageous barbarism that's been coming to light on this planet that is beyond anything I could have imagined. Are you saying that that Christos energy really could affect that?
It will absolutely
That's why we're
affect
here.
it.
That's why we're here, to hold that energy. You know, the group talks about we have a very limited range that we can perceive with our physical bodies. Even if we just take what is called the electromagnetic spectrum, and over here you've got X-rays, and over here you've got gamma rays, and things that we can't see. Our visible light, what we call visible light, is this tiny little section. We are tuned to a frequency that we can have our experience in. What if we were able to open up to more? That's what is holding. That's what we're talking about. And to do that, we have to step out of the old stuff, let go of the old linear thinking, let go of the old I'm not okay, let go of the old I am my past, or I'm concerned about my future. All that process steps out of it, and we can start widening our ranges of perception and loosening the density of the physical body as we step into the higher thing. The group has said one thing that just gives me hope. Even when they gave this line in the sand, so to speak, they said, wait until you see what's coming.
Yeah.
And that's what I hold. That's exactly what I hold.
So in chatting to Adamas the other night, where he gave me these 4 species, we had a very interesting talk. He was talking things my human mind cannot understand. At the moment, I thought I might have, but now I can't. But I did ask him, I said, so obviously there's billions of Homo sapiens, and there's going to be a lot of the, what was the next category? The
Robo.
Homo techno, and then the robots. I said, how many of the Homo Christos, thank you. How many are we talking
Channeling
about?
him.
How many are we talking about? I was thinking he was going to come and talk about millions. I was surprised when he said, well, in the next 100 years, probably
handfuls.
50,000. That's
Yeah.
not a lot.
Yeah.
And he said, but that's enough that it changes the balance of consciousness, and it provides enough, not that we're trying to go out and force others to change, but it provides enough examples or standards.
Exactly.
Because they see somebody like you, they might not know what it is about you, but it literally changes their life. And just your presence, that's it.
See, in simple terms, you have, in that body, you have the capacity to take a 40-degree day and turn it into a 75-degree day.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
real simple, just think about it.
Yeah.
How uncomfortable are you at 45 degrees walking around naked in the street?
Yeah.
I know some of you do that. Raising it to 75 degrees, that discomfort goes away. And that's all we're talking about, is creating a
Yeah.
level of light that
Right.
provides an environment to choose differently. But you will be able to create that environment and not fix anybody.
Right.
Just simply provide the environment, the vibration for others to choose.
That's the
And
big footnote. Don't try to fix anybody.
Please.
No, that's an old trap.
It's a trap, yeah.
That's a trap. You can hold the door open, but you can't do anything more than that. You can set an example of who you are and what that feels like for you and how you did it, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's your job, plain and simple.
I'm going to indulge an audience question from here.
Well,
Steve in the group, you often say, wait till you see what's coming. Would you speak about that?
Well, what if we could see further than we could see, even with our eyes? We actually do some of those exercises. In our Live Master course, we do something called scatter shot. I'll share it with you. It's very simple. Instead of focusing on one thing like the camera, I'm going to shoot all over the room and focus here, focus here, and focus here, and focus here. And what that does is that keeps my intellect out of it. And I'm picking up energy very quickly. That is one way we can start training the optic nerve to start receiving some of the wider ranges between that. So we're going to have more of these things coming. And it's not just our eyes. It's not even just the 5 senses we have. We're going to find out we have closer to 8 that we can access right away. Well, everybody knows you can feel energy, but nobody knows where. How do you feel energy? You know, have you ever had somebody stand behind you and you know somebody's standing behind you, but you don't know why or how you got that? Those are senses that we do not know about because we've been limited to this little tiny range of vibration that we could play with. Once we start opening this up, we're going to see all sorts of things, and that's exciting. And the interesting part about this, we think about, will we be able to create anything we want? What if you didn't have any want?
what if it was already there waiting
What if it's
for
already
you?
there waiting?
In the potential.
Yep.
That's it. And that's the space that we're moving to. And that's why the group keeps saying, it drove me nuts when they first started saying this. Absolutely crazy. I said, what are you talking about? You know, you're telling me on one hand time we've got 50 years left to do this. And by the way, that has expanded now. We're looking at 65 at the moment. Next 3
Still
years,
not real.
next 3 years will have a big influence on how we do that, having to do with the solar cycles and everything we talked about. But we can expand it. And I know many people are disagreeing with that, and that's fine. You don't have to take my truth. You don't have to do anything. They did it for a reason, so that we'd understand that we live in this time. We want to step out of the timeline. We don't have to have that line. Interesting things.
Let me add a piece to that. There's a part, I'm going to use some words because, again, words just being a reference. But one of the things that's happening with your intuition skills, and we can run through about 22 of them that you have. You just basically say clairvoyance, clairsentience, telepathies, there are more. But in that process, there's something, I'm going to use this word, in historical terms, there's something called the Eye of Horus. And the Eye of Horus isn't a necklace or it isn't a mystery school in Egypt. It is a configuration in the brain. And as this level of awareness is happening, in particular as those magnetic fields are beginning to drop, the ability of spirit to begin to put itself back together, that, for example, mental, emotional body going back together. But this Eye of Horus allows for an integration of those spiritual intuitions and abilities. And they begin to function as a unit of awareness. So it's not like I see or I feel. It begins to be a perspective of reality that is not common to you in those abilities being either turned off, turned down, or individually applied. And so this sense of starting to know what's going on is also not a rational mind experience. It is an allowing of awareness to be perceiving consciousness. And again, it goes back to present time. I can't be leaning into my future or my past. But if you find that present time moment in the energies of these changes that are happening, these aspects of your physicalness are beginning to change also. And so just pay attention of your ability to realize yourself saying, oh, I knew that, or gee, I thought that the other day. Allow that to be kind of exciting, because that's what's turning on in all of you who are listening to this experience today.
Okay? All right. So if magnetism of Earth is weakening, how important is it for the human to do earthly grounding, etc.? And if not that, what?
Well, I'll take the first part of that. It's very important for us to ground. We have a part of us which is part of the earth, and that is our physical bodies. And without grounding the physical bodies and be able to do that, we can't hold the spirit right now. Now, are we going to eventually move out of that? Yes, we are. But grounding and working with harmony with the earth is a huge thing. And that's actually what's going to determine how long we have with this whole process, is how we deal with the earth and how we harmonize with the earth. I don't know if you're aware of it, but many countries have taken stances against single-use plastic in just the last few months. We're starting to become aware, maybe not here in the United States yet, or we're kind of starting to taking backward steps right now, but we're very much aware of how we can be in harmony with the earth, how we can clean up the plastic from the ocean, how we can start to work with this on a harmony basis. That is all grounding. And the more that we can perfect now, the easier that step away from it's going to be. If not, we have things we have to clear. We have almost like clearing up problems in your past. If we have abuse issues in our past and we ignore them, guess what? They're going to come around to haunt us in the next time around. And the next part is we step up. If we deal with them, we let them go. They're gone. They're released. And that's grounding. That's the way the group sees grounding.
So let me add a piece of that too. Yes. And there's a whole aspect of you becoming conscious of you becoming conscious. Not unconscious of conscious, conscious of conscious. And in that space, there is this alignment in the heart, that internal guidance system of appropriate and inappropriate. And when you begin to look at the earth in this context, all you can see is beauty and well-being and
Right.
opportunity. And it's in that place that you begin to be both in present time and grounded into a concept of integration in appropriateness. How do I respect the earth? How do I respect you? Well, you respect me. And that's lost to some great extent in today's environment that we play in the external world. But that nature of you beginning to realize you in present time is the same as you engaging with the earth, with each other in that space of respect and dignity and appreciation. That's what's coming in this evolution. It's turning on within each one of us. So it's not the human thinking, well, how do I get there? It's really you beginning to be in that strata of consciousness of well-being. I like me. I appreciate me. I say that to all our students every session. Would you just like yourself? And the amazing amount of pushback that comes to, would you just like yourself? Right
But-
here,
but-
just play, I like me.
But, yeah.
Along with that, for me, for so many of you, I'm sure, things are so chaotic right now, changing so quickly, and sometimes it's exhilarating and fun, but other times just I have a hard time keeping up with it. For me, going out in nature, going out working in the yard is probably one of the oldest and most familiar constants on Earth. In other words, it kind of is a way of reassuring me, okay, everything's changing, but there's still this thing that you're so familiar with. It's kind of like going back to an old friend. So I find it absolutely necessary when we're doing out on the road to just, Linda and I go for long walks in nature, or when I'm at home, just work out in nature. And it's just a kind of reminder, okay, it's crazy, but this is an old, familiar, constant, and non-threatening energy.
Beautiful.
There's a story that I was told by Uriel one time, and basically he was explaining how the elementals of the earth got created. And they were created when before the fall of consciousness, and their purpose was to basically reflect back the Christed nature of the beings that came to visit the earth to create in the beginning levels of physicalness and density. Reflect back to them the Christed nature of who they are. It's like a mirror. And that process in the fall of consciousness was lost. And there's been numbers of things that have been done to bring the elementals back into the engagement of being able to reflect that Christed nature of who you are back to you by playing in the earth, going for the walk, putting your feet in the stream, playing with the rock. It's the hello to nature that you begin to see yourself in the earth itself. And that process is beginning to be elevated by the elementals and will continue to be elevated in the next couple of years. It's really liking me, liking myself, playing in the earth and liking the earth. And it begins to be this vibration back and forth that's going to elevate the heart to a level that you will like yourself.
Okay, Now I've gone through, again, going through the list of questions. One of the big questions is, again, what am I supposed to think as a human when I have huge pain issues, body issues, even cancer? Several questions like this. Am I doing it wrong? Am I going to have to leave? And there's been at least a half dozen questions in that category.
First thing I'd simply say about that is leaving is not wrong. We have to understand that death is simply a transition of your energy. And furthermore, there's going to be a lot of people called home who are going to play an incredibly important part of humanity's evolution that are needed on the other side of the veil. So don't judge leaving as something bad. Now, pain is going to accompany most stages of growth. Misery, however, is optional. So if we are okay with experiencing the pain and moving through it and not living in it, that's the hard part. Now, there are conditions and difficulties with physicalities of people that have pain. I've dealt with one myself. I've got a degrading back issue that's created some bulging spine things on me that have brought a lot of pain. And yet, I move past it. It does not define me. It's that simple. Now, maybe I won't run around the block quite the same way everybody else does, but it does not define me. I am not my pain. And that pain is a temporary thing. To work through it, to ground it out, to release it, to get the gift of the pain and let the rest go is the difficult part. But if you do that and don't let it define you, I think it can be a momentary experience of growth.
Also, right now, I think we're seeing the last hurrah of the human. Adamus talked about that in our last regular session a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. And the human is kind of like doing its last hurrah with its drama, with its pain, with its body, with its whining, and with everything else, because it knows it's on its way out. And one of the things it's doing is bringing up pain, partly to be released, but partly in its kind of its whining, in our new energy body and our homo Christos. Pain's going to essentially be a thing of the past. There actually really is no pain. I mean, your back doesn't hurt. It's your mind is sending a signal,
That's right.
and it's a old survival signal saying something's out of balance to try to tell the human something. We're not going to need that anymore because we're going to constantly being rebalancing, and we're still going to have our tough days in the human reality. We pick up a lot of junk and energy. Adamus says he can stick around for about 3 days and that's it. He's got to go. Because the gravity, the seduction is so heavy here. But you're still going to have the bad days. But then we're going to kind of, he had a word for it, but we kind of like auto-rejuvenate. And that's where nature comes in again. I just go out in nature. Yeah. And we're going to essentially be pain-free. You don't need that archaic system of body alert to let you know something's out of balance. You just go into your, what do they call it in Star Trek? You were a Star Trek fan, Linda, where you go into your chamber and
holodeck.
Your holodeck or whatever,
holodeck,
and
yeah.
you just rejuvenate, boom, you walk out, pain is gone. And I think that's one of the exciting things about the new light body that's coming. And if we just get out of our way and let it happen, I mean, that's the most important thing.
Another question related to that, and any of you can answer this. Somebody asked, with all the incredible addiction to opioids,
Yeah.
particularly in this
Oh,
country and
yeah,
other
yeah.
European countries, how does that impact this light body, this whole, the potential?
Well, you don't want to be doing it. I mean, whether it's SSRI drugs, the depression medications, or the opioids or anything else, you're going to be putting a suppression, a blanket on your enlightenment, on your bringing in the light body. You're just shutting it down. And it's not that it's morally or anything else good or bad. It's you're suppressing it. So right now is the time to be as open as you ever can be. And if you got pain, experience the pain. It's going to go away. If you've got depression, dive into the depression rather than running from it or trying to suffocate it or anything. These things are all on their way out.
Let me give you a consideration. Earlier I said thoughts are electrical and emotions are magnetic. And when you look at an electromagnetic field, what you have for, and just being simple, or a motor, you have a block of steel that has magnetic properties, and then as soon as you start to wrap an electrical wire around it, it begins to create more of a magnetic field. And so when you think about I'm not okay as a thought, or somebody says to you, you have a funny nose, and you happen to have had a funny nose when you were 4 years old, but you forgot about that, and somebody says that to you, you have a memory. And in this case, you then have a thought, this isn't good. And immediately, the emotional body kicks in, and there's a feeling attached to this isn't good. Am I okay so far? And then you start saying, this isn't good. Does that mean they don't like me? I'm never going to be successful. Nobody's going to enjoy me. My problem is, my problem is, my problem is. Can you see the electromagnetic field that's getting wound?
And then it attracts energy.
It attracts
that
It attracts more of
Yeah,
what
yeah.
it's, and now and how does I don't feel good feel in the body generally? And have you ever noticed when you were surprised or assaulted by somebody's insult, you go, and did you ever notice that you never released that when they walked away? And so now the body's in this state of tension. It's out of balance. And then there begins to be an irritation, and then an inflammation, and then a swelling, and then that I'm not okay drops into the physical body as a state of dis-ease rather than dis-ease. So if you begin to think about I'm not okay, how much you run through your body, and start to recognize that all of the I'm not okay of stuffed in my backpack is all coming to the surface to be let go of, the more, if you can begin to have that sense of allowing it to leave, not arguing with it, the physical pain is going to be altered to some great extent also.
And the other question is, where's your energy?
Yeah.
Is your energy going to be on your pain? Barbara and I were in Ankara, Turkey, doing a seminar. And I had a fever. It was about 102. I was not feeling well at all, and I was getting ready to cancel the seminar. And I said, well, let me just go out. They're all here. They're all waiting. Let me just go out, and I won't hug anybody. I'll explain the situation. I'll just go out and see. If it works, it works. If not, I'll go back up and go back to bed. And I was fine. Now, when the breaks came, I just about was ready to die, because when the group came in, I had an intent. I had a focus. I was on purpose, and the pain and everything else goes away. Now, it doesn't mean I probably need a little more rest, a little more fluids, a little more of the energies that our physical body needs. But that's the other part. Are you going to focus on, oh my God, I'm sick? How do I get rid of this pain? Am I doing something wrong? Or can we just focus on, what am I supposed to be doing? What would I be doing right now if I didn't have this pain? And start stepping into it a little bit and watch how that magically disappears.
I think the other really important thing to realize is that that pain and the stuff going through your head, it's not yours. The body is not yours. It's your ancestors. It's the ancestors' genes and DNA and so many other things. It's really not yours. We are inhabiting rented bodies.
Good way to put it.
And it truly is, and most of your thoughts also. And once you recognize and thank and bless the ancestors, and then you take the body back. And I think a lot of the pain that is jumping up right now is the ancestors. All the stuff that was built into your body, including a back issue that's really not yours. And some people have a really hard time with that, saying, let go of the ancestors, honor them and all the rest of that, but get out of here. I'm bringing in my body, my thoughts, my consciousness. I don't want yours nor need them anymore. I'm going sovereign. And you all have fun in your grave 6 feet under, but I'm going sovereign. I'm done with it. That is kind of a tough thing to do in a way, because we are so ingrained into our families, into our parents, into that lineage, and there's cultures that honor the lineage, and I want to throw up. But it's a tough step, but say, that's not mine. You're all great entities in your own right, but these genes, this DNA is not mine. I am bringing my own in. I'm trading in this rental, and I'm going to buy my own sovereign being. Then watch the transformation in your body. It's amazing.
The one other thing I'd like to add about addictions. We have a lot of addictions on the planet. And anything that can help us feel better, can help us move past the pain, we can get a bit addicted to. And then there's a large portion of people, usually about 1 in 7 or 8, who have addictive personalities, who are more prone to be addicted to things than other people. Sometimes they're alcohol's their drug of choice, sometimes it's opioids, whatever it is. There are people who have that. And the group has done some very interesting things about this. They showed it to me in myself. And because I'm one of those people. 38 years ago, I gave up alcohol and have been successful at it. Everybody I went through the program with that tried it and tried to do the same thing, we're not successful. Why? That was my question. Why? Why did many of my friends die from this disease and I walk free of it? I'm not burdened by it. What was that about? And the group said, you switched addictions. Which is what humans do. We switch addictions. What did I switch my addiction to? This work. My wife will tell you. Sometimes she has to go back there and pry me out of there and going, okay, come on now. It's time to be a human again. Let's go up and be a family. Let's go up and do the process because I'm addicted to the work. Now, is it an addiction that's positive for me? That's the idea. If you're one of those people, find something to become addicted to that you can move that addiction to and watch it work. People that use Alcoholics Anonymous usually step out of their addiction to alcohol and they become addicted to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that good either. So there's all kinds of ways of looking at this, but the idea is to find, if you're one of those people, find addictions that you love to do that are healthy for you, because they exist.
Okay, there's a little bit of it's parts to this. Okay, so this person is just curious on all your thoughts. Would artificial intelligence have an emotional body? And if magnetics are changing, and those are emotions like rage, resentment, lower types of vibrations, wouldn't artificial intelligence bypass all that?
No.
No, it won't.
No, it's about evolving consciousness and how that aspect of you chooses to play in the consciousness. So,
Yeah, like the mind, it doesn't have real feelings, real sensory feelings, so it creates something called emotions and drama as a cheap imitation. And I think artificial intelligence also, like robots and that, we're going to program them as close as we can to what we do.
To mimic.
Yeah,
exactly.
and it's going to mimic emotions, and it will believe those emotions are real, therefore they will be. But I don't think the more advanced robots are just going to be drone-ish. I think they will have personalities. My car has a personality.
I think they will.
Yeah.
Well, right now I've got Alexa in my house, so I talk to Alexa. And for all of those of you who are watching this that have Alexa, wake up.
Don't say that. We got it here. Jesus.
I hate her.
No, we do.
I hate her.
One time she misheard something and started dialing people on
I
the
know,
phone,
no,
and we're in
just
here
do it.
having a gathering, and she's calling people. It's like, no, Alexa, shut
No,
up.
don't do that.
Yeah, don't say that word in here.
But what would happen if your friend...
Peter's freaking out. Oh, no.
Yeah, what would happen if your friend became very well known to you and you knew your preferences and everything else, and then you go out to your car and it adjusts the seat for you, it plays your favorite radio station, it may warm up the car for you? That's here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one.
That's here. They're here now. They're
Yeah.
not quite adapted to it, but there's new, we're going to see a lot of the AI and technologies take that. And we're going to have a lot of questions about that. The group said 17 years ago, we cloned the first human on planet Earth. That technology's been here for a long time.
Yeah.
And they said it was done very quietly. Nobody wanted anybody to know about it. It was done as a baby, as a very small child. And that child is now 17 years old. Now, the interesting question is, does the child have a spirit? But in reality, are we really human, or are we spirit that jumped into these bodies?
But the other question is, do we infuse our consciousness into the things around us? Our homes,
Absolutely.
our cars, our robots.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting part.
Yeah, interesting is it, too.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not right or wrong. It's just going to be a very fascinating question to
Yeah.
see how we do that and how we work with that. So can we see ourselves as creators? Good question. We're going to have to decide that. It'll be decided in different levels. It'll be thrown out into society. Society will knock down some of it, grab other parts of it, and we as a collective of humans will decide what we're going to do with that. It's going to be very interesting.
In
to
a way,
see.
it's like a mathematical expansion, 2, and then there's 4, and then there's 8, and there's 16. And we're just simply stepping into an evolution of a mathematical expansion. Keep meaning that to be
Yep.
simple. I said earlier, you're going to see in this whole process of AI and in this segmentation of 2 Earths, in that example earlier, you're going to see a fragmentation of consciousness.
Yes.
Now, the fragmentation already exists. Everything exists in consciousness. We're just going to basically become aware of an aspect of consciousness, and every thought you think begins to be a creation. So you have all these mathematical fragmentations of this aspect of consciousness that is not, on one hand, is very much in your control, but on another hand, as you evolve into it, you're going to be very sloppy and mishaps with creation, figuring it out. There's no failure in there, and there's no badness in there, if that was a word. It's just simply, just like you as a little child come in here and you try to walk, you fall down, you didn't fail. You get up and try it again, and you try lots of things. You came here to have experience. You're now stepping into a level of consciousness that functions differently, that very rapidly provides for what you are thinking to manifest into some level of reality. Most of us don't manage our thoughts very well, and that's to a great extent that linearness of, oh, I hope what happened to me there doesn't happen to me in my future, or they said, and therefore, an average person doesn't manage thoughts. As you get into this space where this evolution is going, and these, as I said earlier, just for labeling, layers of thought, each one functions differently, and you perform and play in all of those right now. You just aren't aware of being conscious in numbers of those layers of thought. But when you do, the apple appears when you hold out your hand intentionally.
It'll be interesting to watch how all this comes to be, because we've been used to one species of humans. There's been times in history where there's been numerous species coexisting at the same time, maybe not aware of each other, but they were on the planet at the same time, but we're very used to just one. Now we start branching into 4, potentially, and it'll be really interesting, because the ones who stay Homo sapiens, I think, are the reason they're going to not want to get involved in like nanotechnology, or certainly not what we're doing, is because they have the Abrahamic backgrounds, the old God. And their God is going to tell them, no, this is all wrong to do stem cells or nanotechnology. And if God had wanted you to be better or healthy, he would have made you
better,
healthy,
yeah.
right,
Would have made
or
you better,
smarter,
yeah.
or more money,
Yeah, exactly.
or any of that. So, and I don't know what % of the world's population is based in the Abrahamic religions, the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, but a lot. And that's a huge factor. And then there's the ones who don't have that pull or those beliefs. They're going to be the ones more likely to do nanotechnology, injections. Well, I need a new liver because the old one is giving out. Or, I want to live a little bit longer. Or I just want to see what it's like. And they're going to be more willing to try that. And we're going to see some very interesting lines of separation. The nice thing is, for the most part, I don't think the rest of the world is going to see us. We just won't be on the radar.
It's a vibrational thing.
Right.
We'll be in a different vibrational
Right,
level.
right.
Entirely. I agree.
Right. And part of that challenge is you will see them.
Exactly.
And so the key
Yep.
is, do you fall back into third dimension every time you look at that, or you look at the world right now? Are you able to look at the politics of the world and not go there? Try it out.
You gotta
Because
laugh.
Well, you got to laugh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
But
No,
the
but you
point
have
is,
to.
if you go there, you went there. That's the simple message. Can you observe and allow without putting your finger in that light socket, having judgment, opinion, etc.? And once you begin to master that, the ability to navigate all of the theater begins to be on your terms versus on the terms of the noise out there. or the Donald of the day.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
actually,
didn't
I
say
know
that.
we're becoming more enlightened. I heard somebody at the break say, I love Donald Trump.
Really?
Yeah, well, because of what he's doing, and they can stand back.
Stretching it
They,
pretty
they
far.
can stand back and look at it and say, that's not my president, that's not my issue, but I love what's going on, all that turmoil, disruption and everything.
I don't know anything about that. I'm allowing.
It's no, actually, that's a big leap to be able to say, hey, that's what
Yeah.
the consciousness chose. And it doesn't
Exactly.
mean I have to get sucked into it, but I
And we're-
thought that was a beautiful
We're
comment.
always feeding the ego, too, to try and figure out what people are thinking of us. And a friend of ours, Terry Cole Whitaker, wrote a book. You don't need to read the book. You can get everything from the title. What you think of me is none of my business. Perfect.
My business is about my business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a complicated question. It's about time. So I find that time has basically disappeared, where I start my day and then it's time to go to bed, and I haven't done much from the gigantic to-do list in my 3D reality. Is this living in the now time? My poor human is having a hell of a time adjusting to this as the months just slip by me. Also, the doing part of my human life seems to have been left by the wayside along with the mounds of dust in my house. Will I adjust to this sometime as I allow more of my master in?
Your master is laughing.
Yeah.
That's the point. What do you measure yourself by what you got done today, or do you measure yourself by what kind of experience you had on the planet today? Did you enjoy yourself? Doesn't make any difference whether you got anything done, really. That's the old linear time stuff.
We're going to be giving up things like goals, to-do lists, purpose in
Yes.
life, all the rest of that. They just go out the door. And one of the nice things is that as we go into all this, you stop being a slave to energy, stop working for energy, and let it work for you. It flips everything around, and suddenly you have a lot more time. Suddenly things just get done. You don't know how, and you don't even need to ask how. Suddenly your house is a little bit cleaner, and suddenly things are just getting done. It's amazing, but we're so used to this old pattern. We're hypnotized into it. You have to have lists, have goals, work hard, and it's taking a little bit of adjusting to get off of that and just let energy work for you.
See, this is very much the shift right here. It's these are my habits. This is what I do. This is what I depend on. This is how I know my life.
Mm-hmm.
And as time is changing, and it is the one piece that is really driving almost everything we're talking about in a way, as time begins to collapse into present time, into a singular point of reference, and you start to realize that I can hold out my hand and the apple appears, the need to do the laundry and all of that begins to in a way disappear. You're starting to create a different reality of perception and creation than what you have been used to and built into a habit-forming belief system. So as you start to find, and I hear this all the time in Mastering Alchemy, I'm getting bored. Well, okay, what are you getting bored of in that context? Well, just like Jeff said, I've lost my goals, I've lost my interest, I'm really not interested in my job, I don't like food anymore, and I don't know what to do. Oh, well, okay, how's that working for you? Oh, it's actually pretty good, they say. Okay, so what would you like to replace it with? Well, I'm bored. Well, third dimensional bored. But the shift is, okay, here is this field of potential that as you hold your attention in present time and have an intention, that attention on the intention begins to manifest. Now, that's how it's going to work. That's how it is working, but that's new and different, and I don't believe it yet. I don't have enough habit for it yet. I don't have enough experience to trust it yet. It's not my truth yet. And so there's all the rational mind arguing with why that sounds good, but. Anybody know that but?
And once you
big butt.
manifest the apple, you can certainly manifest a clean shirt.
Absolutely. And anything else you wish.
Yeah, and then things just start happening in your life instead of you're worrying about cleaning the house, all of a sudden somebody shows up, wants to clean it for you. And then you got to face that issue. Well, am I worthy of having somebody clean
Yeah.
my house?
Yes, I am.
And how
No,
much do you charge?
I like that.
It's an old issue that so many of us face. It's like, oh, I can't do that because then they're kind of my housekeeper, my servant. It's like, absolutely, that's exactly what they want to do. We've all done that in our past, done service like that. Now let somebody do it for you so you can continue to be bored.
And pay them well so
And
they
pay
can
them well,
enjoy
'cause
it.
Pay them well,
You
they enjoy
don't
it.
worry about money at that point, and you don't. The logical mind doesn't think, well, how do I make money and budget and all the rest of that. That goes out the window. You just allow it, and it's there. It's a little scary at first, but it's just there, and it keeps flowing.
Works.
All the manifestation books have always said, if you're going to manifest money, you have to manifest a specific amount. Just be very clear about what that amount is. Sorry, did I catch
Don't
you?
tell that to Adamus. Yeah.
And the group says, why on earth would you limit spirit like that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Are you so attached to your goals and patting yourself on the back that you did something that you limit your own manifestations by putting a limit on it?
Yeah.
Money's fun when you get excited about keeping it in motion, and it's got to stay in motion. And you just say, well, here, I'm going to do this, and it comes back to you in another way. Put it in motion, put it in motion. Pretty soon, you're really kind of laughing at your experience. But most people can't get to that place of, what if it doesn't work? They get stuck in that and stop it.
Yeah, and pretty soon those terms, a lot of terms, we're going to find are just going out of vocabulary. Pain, abundance, all the issue terms that we've had for a long time, they just disappear. And I know it's sometimes hard to imagine, but, and people say, well, what am I supposed to do? Take a deep breath and allow. I mean, you're allowing your master, I am, whatever you want to call it, light body. You're realizing the burden is not on the human anymore. And the human is just allowing these this light into their life. It's amazing. It's too simple, actually.
It's almost too simple.
We want to work at it.
We want to intellectualize
And a
it.
program.
We want to measure it.
Yeah, yeah.
And you'll see, you will see money disappear as a reality. It's not about the money, it's about the motion and the enjoying, and
Right.
let somebody come and clean the house, and you give them the tomatoes you love growing, and it will move. That's not going to happen next week, and I'm not sure I'm going to say it's going to happen in your lifetime in a way, but I really mean it is going to happen in a near-term reality.
Yeah.
That I would speculate will be within 20 years.
The monetary
The
system.
monetary
Yeah.
system is going away.
Yeah. Group predicted that we'd actually have a little bit of a crash next year.
I wasn't going to talk about that part.
Well, and
We could do
even
that
if we
next
do,
year.
what does that mean? Does that mean we stop what we're doing? No, we're going to still wake up in the morning. We're still going to find ways of making things work. We're still going to be here. We still got work to do. We still have passions. It just means we measure things a little different.
But also we're
lose the need to
outside
measure
of
it.
that. It's not ours anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been
It's
the
all part of the
longest
system.
bull market in history. The odds are it will crash.
Right. Yeah.
All the
But-
signs are there.
But why worry about it? It's not our market, I mean,
but-
it's.
Yeah, but
it's-
that's not going to be the reason money's going to change. Go out about 10 years, and when all of a sudden realize the level of debt worldwide is just, and everybody's going to say the emperor has no clothes on, and you will see a new monetary system. But after that one, the indication is that you'll begin to see a level of joy among people engaging with and doing what they love doing, that monetary system will begin to disappear from the reality. There's 2 or 3 iterations to get there, but in the
You want to
next,
hint at one of those?
yeah, the monetary collapse in its entirety is going to have a substitute. And the substitute will be created by a lot of those beings that are now millennials, that have come here to make a difference, that we keep seeing them not knowing what they're doing theoretically. They know exactly what they're doing, and they will evolve into this level of consciousness in this period of time. But I'm going to say, it's not a prediction, but somewhere around 2030, you'll see a complete monetary rearrangement, not just a crash. The entirety of the monetary system worldwide will
Funny
shift.
thing is, it's already happening.
It's already happened, yeah.
It's already moving, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the lie that is keeping it in motion, but it'll change.
Okay, on a different note, will aliens be announced and live among human species?
Oh, no.
We are.
Any different than
we
now?
are aliens.
Very limited range of perception. How do we know they're not already here in different forms that we can't see? And what importance is it? That's probably one of the
Yeah.
more important
Yeah.
questions.
Did that come from the Sedona Journal?
Okay.
Notice that wasn't a real popular question.
No.
I agree with you, Steve, though. It was a big deal, you know.
Yeah,
It's not our issue. And actually, Adamus has said that the aliens really have a tough time. They don't necessarily really want to come here because they get stuck into the whole thing of lifetime after lifetime, bad relationships, bad jobs and everything else. They don't want to stick around. So, no, they don't do a lot of.
The other part of that, how valuable is that attention point to you?
Yeah.
How long do you want to keep running that through your system, and what has it done for you so far? And so there's a lot of those, what you hold your attention on may not be of any use to you at all, but you magnetically keep running it through the system. But just ask yourself, has this yielded anything for me so far, and how is it going to benefit or allow me to have some level of elevation in my awareness if it were to, in fact, happen to me right in front of my face? It's a sideshow to a great extent.
A
They
distraction.
exist. It's a sideshow, though.
Yep.
I'm not sure you want me to go with these questions because they seem to be taking much the same track. I'm experiencing this shift more intensely than ever. It's quite a bumpy ride. Lots of negative patterns emerging. I feel like I'm getting kicked out of the third dimension pretty hard. My question is, do you have some tips to make this transition a little smoother? I think I'm on the right path, but sometimes I wonder how long this is going to take.
It'll be over next Thursday, about 3:42. Don't, just enjoy it until then.
Let's enjoy it.
Thank you. That was my question.
Oh,
Let go.
let go.
Let go,
go.
yeah.
Let it go.
I think we all concur. And, you know, the other thing, let go, but also, this is an amazing experience. We're on the planet at the craziest time ever, most change ever. We're going through the biggest change ever. Your last lifetime in the physical body. You know, you could sit around complaining about it all day or just enjoy the hell out of it. I mean, what an experience we're going through. This is great. Get your stories, get big stories. So when you go to the Ascended Masters Club and you hang out with Adamus and the others, your stories are bigger than theirs.
There you go. There you go.
Okay, so this is a question for Jim. Can you speak to the critical mass of enlightened beings, ascending masters, whose influence really is starting to make a difference in spreading the light? I also sense that as things are somehow smoothing out.
Yes. Yes, that's happening. So critical mass, I'm going to, the critical mass is going to continue to keep growing and growing. I mean, as all of us begin to be more conscious of being conscious, you start aligning in that sense of that internal guidance system of well-being. And it's in that internal guidance system that your light gets brighter and brighter. So is that going to change everything next year or the following year? No. Is it just beginning to be progressively the dawning of the day of the opportunity that we're all expecting to happen?
Anybody else?
No, you covered it.
Okay. So will we be able to teleport?
I wouldn't worry about that right now. You know, it's a distraction.
It's a physical aspect.
Yeah, and if the focus is on that, to be able to teleport or a lot of these other aliens or any of the rest of that, we miss the point of what's happening on the planet right now. And you can actually teleport right now, but you want to do it in the old physical human way. Your teleportation, you can go to the other side of the planet, and I know you or go to the other realms at night while you're sleeping. You do all the time. You just want to take your painful human body with you, and we're going to be doing it in a different way with a different type of body. But also, I wouldn't suggest anybody focus on that, because you're going to end up trying too hard and struggling with it, and then feeling like a failure.
Physics is actually getting very close to teleporting. They have teleported small particles. They have not been able to tell apart a bunch of conglomerations of particles and have them come back together yet, but this is actually happening through people that work at CERN. So it is taking place. They're getting very close. They're very excited about it. And what the group says is by the time they figure it out, we're not going to be interested.
Yeah. No,
We're not going to care.
It's true. Yeah.
We're not going to care. Because if we step out into these higher dimensional bodies, we don't need to teleport. We can be anywhere at any moment and wait until you say what's
You're going to
coming.
be in many places all in the same moment.
Well, can you hold two thoughts at the same time? Can you, I mean, if you really practice it, you can. We actually did a seminar on this, to be able to hold two thoughts at one time, to be able to bilocate your consciousness. And if you stop and think about it, you're here right now. You're focusing on us on the stage. Can you also, at the same time, take yourself home and put yourself on the couch? Yeah, you can. And with a little bit of practice, that is basically one of the things that will actually start to lead to teleportation, or what we are calling teleportation.
Or
Okay.
bi-awareness.
Yeah.
This, I guess, goes to Jeff. What does a daily agenda of Homo Christos look like? I'm totally bored otherwise.
I don't know yet. I can imagine a few things, but I think we're still going to have our regular human, or our Homo sapien aspect that gets up in the morning, has breakfast, goes through the routine. But I think simultaneously we're going to be in multiple locations, multiple awarenesses. It's really interesting. Going back into the earlier discussion about senses, Adama says that there's about 200,000 senses in all the realms, and humans deal with one: focus. We're just so focused, and he said, you realize at any given point you're in about, I think he says, about 12 different dream states, even right now, that are happening all around you. You're just so focused on this and your pain and your bad relationship and your bad job that we lose all of that. And I think what's happening is we start to open up. We become so much more sensual. We've lived in this singular life, kind of a gray life, and then we get used to it and we think that, we think everything's the same. You start opening up into the sensuality and you realize, you can be aware of the different dream states that you're living in. You can be aware that you're at home sitting on your couch right now eating a chocolate sundae, and it gets really fun, but then the human is going to jump in and say, I'm just going crazy. It's like, no, crazy is being in single focus. That's crazy. So I don't know if I answered the question. Maybe these guys could.
That's good. There's an aspect to this, too, that I watch people define in either or. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go here, or I'm going to go here. So you're automatically in the duality of the third dimension by that definition. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I find with a lot of people mastering alchemy is when you get into that singular point of awareness, you start to really get right here and quiet, you don't get small, you get big. And you begin to have an awareness of not going to my couch where I live. You already are there. You know what it exists, it feels like, you know it intimately, and right here you can be there and be here at the same time. Mm-hmm. So an aspect of your consciousness is beginning to be very multi-expansional without you ever moving from the single point of conscious awareness that I am.
Yep.
And in that point, you recognize that the ability to start to ask a question, how does that work? And be there listening to the answer. I say this often, and it's a potent piece of information. The answer lies where the question is asked. What we do is we move away to go find the answer. Mm-hmm. But if you get that quiet and you just simply ask the question and allow, it's amazing the amount of information that comes to you right where that question is asked.
That's an interesting point. That's something the group has repeated from the beginning of our teachings. They've said, we're not here to give you answers. We're here to help you remember your questions.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's good.
This is a little different question. Will the artificial intelligence one day replace judges and decide if an individual should be freed, sent to prison for life, or put to death? Probably.
What if we didn't have those three choices?
Yeah.
If we evolved to that point where we can do that, Here in the United States, we incarcerate 45% of the people in the world that are incarcerated. We've only got 12% of the population. And yet there's places here in the United States even that have done away with their prisons. They've started working with people to do things. So what about if we evolve to that state to where we don't need a judge, to where we have things that take place, and here's the answer to that. Here's the program that you can go through. Here's what we're going to require you to go through as a healing program, rather than that type of situation. Or
The other
being put
side
to
of
death.
that, what if they put a probe into your brain or something, and they can read the exact memory of everything you did, where you were, guilty, not guilty? That's the scary part
Now
of
we're-
artificial
yeah.
intelligence, because it will have that capability.
They say within 5 years, they'll have mapped the brain,
Yeah, yep,
within 5 years.
yep.
And
And
what
what-
you're pointing to is a real possibility. What else is possible about that implant that gets put in there that says you don't do those things
Right.
anymore? So I'm going to make you no longer a criminal, here's an implant.
Yeah.
Well, were you a criminal in the first place?
Right.
So,
No, it's interesting, and with mapping the brain, obviously, then they're going to try to replicate that in the computers, and that's where we're going to see the line between, that computer that used to sit in our desk and the new computers. The line's going to be really blurred, very blurred.
I think I read that in a book called 1984.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
that, I think
A
that
lot
was.
Well,
of choices coming up.
Speaking of books, Adamus has been talking for a while, a book that he wrote back in his last lifetime called The Time of Machines,
Machines.
and was all about the time that we're living in now. And he wrote it, he kind of said he projected into the future, and wrote all about this amazing time of convergence with so many things happening. And he said, we're right smack in the middle of his book. It's happening right now.
Yeah.
We have about 9 minutes to
Oh,
finish. Would you
I
like,
only need 7 or 8.
would the three of you like to make some wrap-up comments?
I think we've said all we. Jeff would love to make a wrap-up comment.
Well, it's actually not me. It's, so,
We know.
Do we have to?
You feel
Can we just project it?
yeah, I think we're going to start to become aware of how hypnotized we've been for ages by our ancestors, by society, by ourselves, by our past lives. An amazing hypnotic, and a lot of this started back in Atlantis, but we have these amazing hypnotic overlays around us. And they're like clouds. They fog our vision. They keep us from actually enjoying life. And they're not ours. They're not yours. We've allowed ourselves to be hypnotized. The only way to get out of it, you can't fight your way out or bargain your way out. The only way out is to choose out. But if you choose out of this hypnotic fog that we've all been living under, life is going to change. And you will probably have drastic changes in relationships. And if you're not ready for that, don't do it. In your job, where you live, in your body, in your mind, in your thoughts, in your relationship with yourself. And it sounds really nice to let go of all those overlays, but what we tend to do is just let a little bit go here and a little bit go there. But those are quickly filled in with more hypnotic overlays. It's really ultimately about making a decision that these things are no longer yours. What is yours, by the way? Tobias said it many years ago, what you choose. That's it. That's it. But as we emerge now as as you emerge into the what did he call it, the Homo Christos.
Christos.
As you emerge into that, you got to let go of those hypnotic overlays that you picked up along the way and come back to yourself. That's it.
I'll add something to that real quick because this one's easy. You're bringing it down to choice. I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here to do, is to make choice. And we choose our reality. We create it because we become that. We attract everything to us. We don't need to go anywhere. We don't need to create. We don't need to project out. It will come to us. But here's a very simple thing that you might want to think about. Let's say that subconscious mind carries everything. Every thought that he's ever had, every thought that she's had, anybody is carried in this flow of subconscious mind. And it goes through your brain every second of every day. You do not have choice over the thoughts that enter your head. But you have perfect choice over the ones that stay there.
Yep.
The ones that you resonate with, that you hold, that you try to become. That is a choice. And that's a choice that'll step us very quickly onto this path of stepping into these higher bioluminescence, human Christo,
Homo
Homo
Christos.
Christo, and,
Yeah, yeah.
and so forth, to be able to do that. So we have choice. Anytime you're in pain, choose again. Dare to choose again. Real simple.
Yeah, I finish lots of my webinars with how do you choose? Because that's really what it comes down to. And you're watching a world right now that's really fabulously fantastic. It's a little noisy out there. But how do you choose? Now, there is no truth. It's just simply how do you perceive and how do you choose that which you hold your attention on. But you're watching right now some really interesting things because the word truth is really being shifted, and it's very much a hypnotic process. You're watching people some guy tell lie after lie after lie, and then that becomes the truth after a while. It's all a hypnotic process that
Yep.
is well documented in dictatorial governments forever and ever. But we're watching this unfold in a way that is, as you get into present time, you can't take your baggage with you. And the baggage is the hypnotic structuring of what mom, dad, teacher, minister said, what the religion has said all along, what I have to believe. So a lot of that structuring that we hang on to as truth really is generally not even your belief system. It's somebody else put it in your head and you went, okay, me too, and accepted it and have never revisited it. But to all of you, to all of us, this is a different day. This is an enormous opportunity to choose in a way that your ability to create and bring forth what you want isn't some mythical consideration. It is really very much in your ability to handle. That apple is that far away from you having it manifested exactly the way you want it, but you don't believe you can.
Yep.
And it's in that, I can't, oh, you don't understand, or I've never done it, but that's the piece that is very much engaged in the hypnotic sense that says, this is all you are, live with it. And those days are really going away very rapidly if you will allow them.
Well said.
I just made that up.
Well created.
Okay,
Well channeled.
that's all I got.
Any final words? Is that it?
That's it.
So, I'd like to thank Jim
I was going to be worried.
and Steve and Jeff. Thank you for offering your professional, your amazing, wonderful insights to us. It's been a true pleasure. The audience, the live audience would like to thank you as well as all those that are listening. Thank you to Jim and Steve and Jeff.
And thank you,
all-
dear Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Absolutely, my pleasure, beyond words. And thank you to our production staff here.
Yes.
Doing all this incredible work to make this event.
How about a
possible.
shot of the production staff?
Thank you all. Thank you to our staff. So, with that, I believe we can say thank you and goodbye. Thank you.